Welcome, Dr. Kelly McQueen. She is the chair of the Department of Anesthesia at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Allison.
For those of us who may not know you very well, can you please give me a brief summary about yourself?
Sure. Well, you've already mentioned that I'm the chair of the Department of Anesthesiology here in Madison. I've been in this role for about almost 3.5 years, and I came to this role from Vanderbilt University, where I headed up their global programs. Prior to that, I'd been in private practice for 15 years.
Thank you for sharing your background. Tell me how you got involved in the field of global anesthesia.
Yeah, this is always my favorite question to address. So thank you for including it in the interview. I have been interested in global health since medical school. So from the time of my early clinical rotations, I really planned to, at some point, serve the underserved. That was a focus of mine, and specifically to serve the underserved in low and middle income countries. I think when I chose anesthesiology as a specialty, people really didn't understand how that would fit into global health. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I did either when I chose anesthesiology. But since then, it has really made a lot of sense because during my career, the focus on global surgery and anesthesia has really blossomed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome that you continued to pursue something even though you didn't quite know how it's gonna pan out and
Right.
fit with the field that you chose. So that's great. How has your work in global anesthesia influenced your leadership style?
Yeah, well, I have to say that I think, like many women of my generation, I didn't necessarily plan to lead. I sometimes think of myself as an accidental leader. But all of my leadership opportunities really came about during my global work or within my global work. And so I think that my global work and style has directly contributed to my leadership style now and to the way that I work. I think I became recognized as a leader because I like to bring people together. I like a collaborative working style. I like, when possible, to hear all perspectives and opinions. And that really was necessary to creating global teams and to really moving global initiatives forward. And so all of that, as it turned out, really directly parlayed into my leadership as a chair, even though I didn't see myself on that trajectory.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing that perspective because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm not a leader. I don't know how I would do that. And then it's like, voila, you really are. um, I noticed that you actually hold a master's in public health. Do you encourage other anesthesiologists to pursue secondary degrees?
I certainly am a proponent for secondary degrees. And in my case, having a master's in public health really made all the difference to my global trajectory and even to my leadership trajectory. Understanding about population health really influenced my ability to do international work, to conduct international research, And now in my current role, to really understand how we as a department impact populations. And so I'm very grateful to have pursued that degree when I did. So when my faculty now ask me, should I get an MPH or an MBA or a Master's of Healthcare Administration, if those degrees really align with future interests, then I really do encourage them to pursue those degrees. Because while our MDs or DOs contribute directly to our clinical work, there's a lot of many gaps in our education related to the things that I mentioned, either population health or administration or even leadership. And so, yes, I do encourage faculty and even residents that have these other interests to pursue those additional degrees when it makes sense.
Mhm, mhm. Thanks for sharing your perspective. I think a lot of people always are questioning whether they should do a secondary degree or not, and so it's helpful to hear the different perspectives that people have. So thanks for sharing that. You mentioned that you didn't anticipate in being a quote unquote leader, and you became the chair of the anesthesia department. Um, how, at what point did you pivot and say, oh, I do think I want to become the chair of a department? Because I'm sure that took a lot of decision making.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I was very comfortable and confident leading in my global role, and quite happy there. And so when I was asked to apply for this position, I was really very hesitant. And I initially said, no, I'm not interested. I'm happy where I am. But I think I was really fortunate, and I think this is a theme for us as women in anesthesia and in leadership, that there was a female surgeon leading the search committee, and she wasn't satisfied with that answer. She said, I think you really have leadership qualities that you haven't seen in yourself. We believe that you would be an excellent candidate, and we would really like for you to apply. And so it wasn't until I really had that encouragement that I was willing to take the leap and apply. And then additionally, to really start to explore, wow, would I want to do this? Could I do this? What am I leaving behind? Because certainly as we climb a ladder, we are leaving certain things behind. And for me, I was going to have to leave behind part of my global career. But with the encouragement of both the search committee along with my dean, who was very supportive, I eventually came to understand that my lessons in leadership in global health really had applicability within the Department of Anesthesiology. And even though I would have a steep learning curve as a new chair, that was not atypical.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that until I was really introduced to the search process. So I'm really forever grateful to the search committee and to my dean, who really gave me the tools once I decided to make this transition. And it's been a wonderful transition for me. I'm really grateful for this position, and I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Mhm. Well, we're all glad that you took it.
Thank you. Thank you.
As a seasoned leader, which leadership roles and skills would you encourage early career anesthesiologists to pursue? And also, are there any like leadership courses that you took early on that you found were helpful?
Yeah, so I think if women in anesthesiology identify early as wanting to pursue a leadership trajectory, there certainly are ways to prepare. And one of the more common ways that I know are familiar at all in academic institutions are to take small roles initially, learn what you can, and then move on to bigger and bigger leadership roles over time. And I think that that is a wonderful way to proceed if you see yourself that way. That wasn't how I did it. And so I ultimately had to look at those courses that could then fill my gaps for leadership. And I began to do this, yeah, even as a global leader. I think there are a number of courses, and some that I've taken are through the AAMC that give you really practical leadership skills and management skills that have been very helpful to me. And there are also executive leadership programs, whether they're at Harvard or at Stanford or at Drexel, that are also very helpful in really garnering the skills that we didn't get in medical school
Mhm.
or other places in our training, that would enable us to be better leaders. And finally, I certainly believe in lifelong learning. And
Mhm.
I currently am an ELAM fellow, the
Mm.
Executive Leadership in Academic Medicine for Women, offered through Drexel University, a year-long leadership program. And I'm super excited and honored to be a current fellow. And it has also been transformative to be with female leaders from around the country, really pursuing additional excellence in leadership.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing. I think that's really important for us to learn that you have to learn these leadership skills. You have a unique background in that you worked in private practice for quite some time before transitioning to academia. Can you explain what you learned from your private practice experience that transcended into your academic leadership and career?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm really grateful now that I have had the experience in private practice because it gives me an opportunity to talk to my residents and fellows about their choices. Should I choose academics or should I go into private practice? And if I do either one, am I stuck? And clearly the answer is no. Um, I didn't have a real mentor when I was leaving residency to guide me on a best choice. I knew that I was interested to pursue a global career even while practicing anesthesiology. And there really hadn't been a lot of people who did that prior to me in anesthesiology. And so I thought at the time that it seemed reasonable to choose a private practice group that was large and that would allow me to be overseas every year for a specific amount of time. And I don't think it was a bad idea. But if I had it to do over again, I would have gone directly into academics because I always was an academic at heart. So even though I stayed in private practice for many years, and what I was able to negotiate was I would work clinically 9 months, and then I was able to take 3 months a year off to pursue my global interests. But within that 9 months, when I was practicing clinically, I was always sort of a frustrated academic. I was interested to have residents come and rotate with our practice so that we could teach them. And I was interested to do research about my global projects when I was back from overseas. And so it worked, it was functional. But the distinction that I like to make now, once I was recruited to Vanderbilt, and I got there and I realized that, that there was there were so many more resources for me as an academic. I reflected that in private practice, I was really tolerated as a global anesthesiologist. I think people were always disappointed to see me go off to do my global work rather than staying home and working. Whereas in academic practice, with the portfolio of work that I already had going, I felt really supported and almost celebrated once I got to academic practice. So I would have done things differently. However, I don't regret any of my experience. I really had a wonderful time in private practice. I'm grateful to the people that I practiced with for teaching me so much and for tolerating my other interests. And then I'm happy that I was able to make the transition that I did because I think I really always was meant to live within academic medicine.
Mhm. Mhm. Thanks for sharing that experience because I think it's very valuable for people to hear about, their past experience and how they evolve and move from one place to another. And as you said, you're not locked into one way. There's many ways, and you can go from academic to private, private to academic. Just a matter of the goals that you want and have. So thanks for
That's
sharing.
right. Yeah.
Um, Networking is a key element to advancing one's career. How was creating a network impacted your career? And how do you, or what recommendations do you give to anesthesiologists in like creating a network? Because I think most of us know the word and don't know how to do
Right.
it.
Right, right. Well, I do think that a network is essential. Whatever your network is, or whoever your people are, right? Because it's important to have people around you who have share your ideas, might challenge you to go further, and are going to support you in good times and bad. And my network was a global network, and it happened by shared passions. And I think that that's common. I think that, just for example, as women, some women form networks around their family structure. If they have children, they form a network of women, children in anesthesia. Or if you love to travel, there might be a group of traveling anesthesiologists that you love to connect with, or the difference between private practice and academic practice. And I think that we need to be responsible as women leaders to create networks for early career faculty and for people looking to engage and to have a network. So it was important for me at Vanderbilt to be part of and to really expand the Women in Anesthesia network. And similarly, I've done that here. But I don't think it's always so concrete. Like, I think sometimes just answering the question, who are my people? Who will support me? Who can I depend on? And then, two, the network might be much larger than your peer group, than your department. It might be the people that you want to become like. And so really reaching out to people in, the modern ways that are available to all of us,
Mhm.
through social media, through email and things like that, to simply reach out and to say, hey, I know about your career. I'd like to learn something from you, and really pulling those people into your network. So
Mhm.
they don't have to all be peers or colleagues or people in your immediate environment to be a valuable part of your network. And so I really do encourage that broad sense of networking. I'm a huge supporter of social media
Mhm.
for my department, for my initiatives, my global initiatives, and other things. I really believe in LinkedIn as a way to also have new and different networks. And I think this is very important in the year, it's almost 2023, in the year 2023, to have a broad approach to networking and to finding support, but also influencing others, mentoring and sponsoring others.
Mhm. Mhm. I feel that I've been fortunate because connecting with all the women leaders that I've had the opportunity to speak to really has been just by email. And everyone's been so kind to respond and say, yes, they can do it now, or well, I can maybe do it another time. But um, everyone's been very responsive. So I think what you're saying rings a bell to me in terms of how I've been able to connect with others through using social media or email, and it's been great. We know that mentorship and sponsorship are important for one's career. Can you tell me how mentorship or sponsorship has helped you, and what's been the best way to find a mentor?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as I already said, it was hard for me to find a mentor early in my career because my interests were not common. And so I found most of my mentors within global health. And as an MPH student, I developed mentors who really have stayed with me through my whole career and helped me develop a research strategy and helped me develop a career that was meaningful from an academic perspective. Um, and in terms of sponsorship, again, it was a little bit difficult for me because of just the divergence of my interests. You know, there were certainly sponsors on the anesthesia side. For instance, people that really thought I should get involved with component society leadership. And they really encouraged me and introduced me to the people that I would need to meet to serve in a component society, and I'm grateful for that. But again, in terms of my academic career, much of it I pursued on my own. And I think that's really helped me develop a strategy for engaging early career faculty, residents, and fellows, because I sort of now, in retrospect, realized what I missed and realized what I would have had the opportunity for had I received mentorship early and had I been sponsored to do other things. And so I don't, again, I don't reflect and think how unfortunate I was to not have all of those mentorship and sponsorship opportunities, but rather I've projected about what I can now do for others based on my experiences
Mhm.
in the future. So I'm very happy to mentor and to support others.
Mhm. Thanks. Your experience is not uncommon from when I'm talking to all these women. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. But I think, having all these women who are now in leadership positions and having had their experience, as you said, um, definitely, I think helps them, help mentor us younger anesthesiologists coming through. So I think it's impactful in that way. What is the best advice you have received from a mentor?
Some of the best advice that I've received professionally has been, to go for it. And so just feeling supported, right? To to reach for the stars, to follow my dreams, however you want to say it. And I did have many people in my academic life, even if they couldn't mentor me or sponsor me specifically in global anesthesia, they really encouraged me to just always, pursue what I was passionate about. And so I really value that. And I think that that pushed me to do other things and to continue. My closest friend from Vanderbilt is also an anesthesiologist, and I remember confiding in her about this role that I'd applied for the chair role at Wisconsin, and I wondered what her advice was. And she said, "I'm really sad that you are going to leave, but you have to go. You have to go for you, and you have to go for all of us that are going to come after you." And
Mhm.
I was like, wow, no pressure, but I was so grateful to her for her encouragement and her endorsement, right? That I could do it, and then I had to do it, that it wasn't something to really see as optional, but once offered the job that I really needed to go for it.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's important having that support, encouragement. I think people don't realize how valuable it is and how much it motivates the other person to like really go for it. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate all of your time, and it's been really lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Allison. Likewise, I've really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for this project. I'm really excited about all the voices that you've brought to the conversation. I've listened to a lot of the interviews, and they're really fantastic. So thank you for taking this on.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.